Nevada County, it's your friendly neighborhood political correspondent. Here at Nevada County Media, I aim to educate and empower voters by interviewing local political leaders on issues of the day. My guest today is Nevada County Supervisor Heidi Hall. Thank you so much for being here, Supervisor Hall. Hello.
Hello. Happy to be here. Thanks, MaryJane.
Yeah, so how are you today? How are you enjoying fall?
Oh, the shift in the weather is excellent. I'm very tired of the heat.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any fall activities planned, like leaf peeping or pumpkin spice stuff or anything like that?
You know, we work around our house in the fall. We have a lot of trees, and so that takes a lot of effort to keep it up.
Yeah. Do you take advantage of the burn days that suddenly start happening?
We do. We use all of the things that there are out there to help us manage our green waste. We take it to the dump. We use green waste bins. We burn. We put it in our little green waste bin. All of it.
Yeah. Well, I know my husband gets really excited. Like we kind of collect everything that we need to burn, and then once burn days start happening, we do it. And there's a bonfire that we have. We try to stay within the limits, of course, but he'll start calling friends and go, "We're having a bonfire. Hey, let's get some s'more stuff."
Nothing wrong with making it fun.
That's right. Yeah, it is
Absolutely.
fun. We have you here today because speaking of fires, we would love to learn what you've been doing lately around fire mitigation efforts and particularly fire insurance. So would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I'll start briefly with fire mitigation because what we're doing at the county is what we do every single year, all in the spring and the summer into the fall, which is remind people to do their home hardening, to clear around their homes 5 feet, nothing up to 100 feet, really get all the stuff off the ground and limb your trees up, all the things that you can do to make your home and neighborhood fire safe. It's still in fire season here in early October, so we need people to continue to do that. And we spend a lot of time educating and doing the work that we do to keep the roads clear and keep our properties clear as well at the county. So that's the kind of on the ground work. On fire insurance, I've kind of immersed myself the last 2 years into how it works, what it is, and what is going on. And that's because we have an insurance crisis, I will call it, a wildfire insurance crisis. In this country, I would say, but also very specifically here in Nevada County, we know that people's rates are skyrocketing. We know that people are having to go on the FAIR plan, which is not comprehensive. We know that people are in trouble keeping their homes or selling their homes or buying homes, all because the cost of insurance is going up so exorbitantly. We've actually had a fire agency itself that had to shut down briefly because of the sudden increase in rates. We have businesses who are experiencing that, and low-income housing is in jeopardy that we're really desperately trying to build because those quotes are coming in pretty high too. So it's a crisis. It's a state-regulated industry. So the role that we have at the county is really trying to advocate and get some influence in what we can do to change the rules or change the market. So I've been engaging with a group at the County Association of Counties, CSAC it's called, where I'm leading up a work group of supervisors across the state who meet on a monthly basis and bring in speakers, and we're developing recommendations for what needs to happen. We're going to take those to Commissioner Ricardo Lara, our insurance commissioner here in the state. We're going to put that in our platform, and we're going to take that to the legislature as well. And I've had the pleasure of having direct communication because of this with Commissioner Lara and being able to ask him really tough questions about these changes he's making and when did they happen, next year, day one, and is he going to be enforcing them? And he says he will. So, and I'd be happy to talk a little bit about what those changes are.
That would be great. I'd especially love to know what kind of power he has to influence rates, caps or what.
Yeah, so it is complicated,
yeah.
And we make it more complicated here in California.
Yeah, you can feel free to talk to me like I'm 5, because really when it comes to this stuff, that's how I feel.
I'm still learning every single day, so I hope I could get it all right myself. But we have in California Proposition 103, which meant that insurance companies could not raise rates more than 7% each time they came in to ask for a raise, and that rate could be challenged by consumer groups. What that means is that we've seen our insurance rates not skyrocket like the rest of the country. It's been a good thing in the short run. Unfortunately, it's been very cumbersome, so even for the insurance companies, raising rates at all has been difficult. And now we're in this crisis where, because of climate change and storms all over the country that as we see even today, are getting worse, the costs to insurance companies are skyrocketing, and they are claiming they do not have enough money to be providing policies in a state like California, where they can't raise their rates enough to make it profitable for them. So they started pulling out of the state. We currently have, I believe, one insurer still working in the state, plus the FAIR plan.
Which insurer is that?
I don't want to name names
okay.
because it can change, and
Gotcha. Okay.
and we don't want to be picking on people right now.
Got it.
Except as a big group, I
Fair
do want to
enough.
pick on them a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Yeah.
So what Ricardo Lara is trying to do is work within the confines of Prop 103. Otherwise, he'd have to go back out to the voters and overturn that, and that's a very difficult and expensive prospect. So he's allowing insurers to change their modeling practices. In the California, they look at what used to happen, and they use that as a determination of what your risk is. Other states are using catastrophic models. They're looking at, for example, climate change data, and they're using that to determine what the rates are going to be. So he's going to allow insurance companies to do that, which means they're going to be raising their rates, and they're going to be able to move that faster. And in exchange, and then he's done a few other things to try to give them what they want. And in exchange, they've agreed to come back in California's market. And his rule is that anybody who wants to write insurance in California for homes is going to have to write 85% of them in higher fire risk areas.
Okay.
So the bottom line is we're going to give it some time. So we'll see January 1st in the next couple months after that if we see the insurers coming back in the market, and hopefully that will help.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough. I think we still need to deal with the bigger issues of climate change and global issues that make insurance costs so much. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're in the middle of the after effects of Hurricane Helene, and yes. Hurricane Milton is bearing down. Mm-hmm. Those are going to be billions of dollars of costs to somebody. And if it's not the insurance companies, it's going to have to come from FEMA.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger issue, and we're also trying to tackle that as well. Get the states involved, get the federal government involved with the reinsurers, who are the ones doing the global insurance and backing the insurance companies, because their rates have been skyrocketing, and those are getting passed on to us as well.
I gotcha. So you mentioned that affordable housing is having trouble being built and passed because of rates. Will you please explain to me just a little bit about how that works? Like why, who has to pay for that? I mean, are they just having trouble getting them insured? Or are they just because they can't find an insurer? Or is it just too high to make it pencil for the developer?
Yes, that's it, exactly. Okay. So building low-income housing is already not very profitable. And so those always need subsidies. There's a regional housing authority, there are tax credits, there are some tools that we have to give developers, to give them more incentive to build low-income housing, or to build general housing that has a portion of it low income. But when the insurance costs come in, and which means they're going to have to charge that much more to sell or rent those properties, then it doesn't pencil out for them.
Gotcha. Are there subsidies available for developers to develop low-income housing and to help them offset that cost to them?
That's one option that we should be looking at as a tool. Right now there aren't. I mean, this crisis has been brewing for a while, but it's really just kind of hitting, and they're just starting to look at solutions, and that certainly would be a good one.
So if somebody wanted to advocate for such solutions, would they talk to you, or would they talk to the insurance commissioners at the state?
They could write letters to the insurance commissioner. It's Commissioner Ricardo Lara. They should also talk to their state representatives, state senate and state assembly. Those folks made the rules that the insurance commissioner has to follow. Now he said, I asked him, what bills do you need? What kind of fixes do you need that we could advocate for to help you do your job and get these insurers back into the state? And he said he didn't need any help. He had enough authority right now to do what he wanted to do. So for me, that means then we better see some changes in 2025. And if not, we do want to be going to our legislatures and asking them to get involved, have some hearings, look at the issue. Part of my concern is that I'm not sure some of the legislators are really aware of the on-the-ground effects to people, that they're really, fixed income seniors who paid off their home but have insurance rates that are hiked. They have no more income to get to pay for that. So
right.
Those folks, the threat to people's living situation and livelihoods is what concerns me the most.
Right. So you mentioned the California Fair Plan, and it sounds like they've kind of stepped in to fill some gaps, especially for people who can't get insurance in other ways. But I think you also mentioned that they're very limited. For being a state-funded plan, I'm just wondering, why wouldn't they be enough to cover what is needed, if they're run by the state?
So that's actually very interesting. It's something that most people don't know, that it is not a state-funded plan.
Oh, okay.
It is an insurance company-funded plan. So the insurers have to chip in to the FAIR plan. So even though they're not choosing to insure people themselves, they are having to pay into a bigger plan that the state is overseeing to give people that insurance. And what's interesting about that too is, there's a concern that if you overburden the FAIR plan, you're not using the private market, which is what should be used right now for insurance, then that could bankrupt. If that bankrupts, and I asked Commissioner Lara that question, he goes back to the insurance companies and gets more money to fill the pot so that it can't bankrupt. Mm-hmm. So the insurance companies are beholden one way or another, but the commissioner is trying to make it work for everybody. So they have to keep the rates high enough that they can cover everybody.
Gotcha. So the FAIR plan, you can't just have a FAIR plan. It's designed to go hand in hand with a market plan that then supplements what else is needed?
That's what it's turning out to be. So
Okay.
it's designed to just give you the bare minimum, bare bones, and that's really not enough for most people.
Okay, I gotcha. So I know that you're also a member of the the National Association of
NACO.
Counties? NACO.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So with your involvement with this, and you mentioned that fire insurance is also a nationwide problem. Is there any congressional legislation around fire insurance that is interesting to our viewers? Maybe
it is. We're much further along in the state than at the federal level, because I sat through a couple of Senate hearings and committee hearings last year, and really the message was, it's California and Florida's problem. It's not a state issue, national issue, because it's run by the states, but it's affecting everybody. Like I said, I keep saying if insurance companies can't cover it, it goes to FEMA, and that is a federal program. So Adam Schiff has proposed this big global bill that would ideally provide sort of a federal backstop, like the NFIP for flood protection. It is really big and very unspecific, but it's kind of like a starting point, I think. So that, and then there have been some other smaller bills that provide tax relief for house mitigation and some potentially subsidies to people to harden their homes. It's really small potato stuff. But I think it's beginning to gain some traction, and I've just been appointed to the Homeland Security Subcommittee on our Justice Committee. Yes, I was on the Public Lands Committee, and I asked to be moved and put into this committee because that's where they deal with emergency management and where we might be able to start talking about fire insurance as well.
Oh, gotcha. That's great, because these insurers, I go through an insurance company that is the same one that I had when I lived elsewhere in another state,
Mm-hmm.
So they're national. It would make sense,
Yep.
to be regulated on a national level, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any, just out of curiosity, are there any states that, I know that there are some that are considered like a climate haven, that are maybe up north that are sort of warming up. Are there any states that aren't dealing with fire, like that maybe are just like, yeah, you guys are, I'm sorry, that sucks for you all, but we're fine?
Yes. I mean, the fire insurance issue is specifically about those forested areas like us up here in Northern California, and there are lots at Colorado, Arizona. There are, fire insurance is a specific problem for those people who have wildfire as their biggest threat. Of course, we have flood insurance and flood issues that are a much bigger deal for our coastal areas. So it does vary. It isn't insurance across the board is an issue for the country, and wildfire insurance is one big piece of it. But flood insurance and the NFIP, which is the national insurance plan to backstop flood, that's sort of troubled as well. So it is an issue that crosses all the possible sort of climate weather disasters that we're experiencing.
Do you find that, so fire, flood, tornado, any natural disasters that might occur in a state, do you find that the insurance needs in these conversations are similar? This is just out of curiosity.
Yeah, not. I mean, what's similar is that insurers have to identify a risk. They have to make calculate a risk decision, and then decide how they're going to back up that risk by providing funds, right? That's the commonality. But the way the disaster strikes, or how it happens, or how you recover from it, that's very different from the varying different disasters.
Right. Yeah, and I know when you're buying a house that's close to a coast, you look at the flood zone, right? Mm-hmm. But it seems like we don't really have a fire zone outside of just the zip code.
We have the higher fire severity maps that have been put out by the fire agencies, but they basically cover all of California. They're just not nuanced enough.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and that's why Ricardo Lara can say you have to cover 85% of your policies have to be in that area, because it's most of California.
Right. So due to this lack of nuance, I know homeowners are frustrated that even if they're doing lots of home hardening, mm-hmm. and Measure B was passed in Grass Valley to have the city help residents, and through JPAs, residents of other communities manage wildfires, but they're still not seeing rate reductions or even steadiness. So is there anything that individual homeowners can do in order to help their own rates?
Yes, they can, but I have to say this is my biggest frustration as well, that for example, we know enough studies have been done now to show that when you do everything, when you harden your home, when you do the 5-foot zone, the 100-foot zone, when you harden your neighborhoods like the Firewise communities are doing, and when you do things like the fire breaks that the county has invested in with CAL FIRE funds, when you do all that, you actually reduce the risk of wildfire from between 40 and 60%.
Wow, that much?
So yes,
that's
great. Quite a bit. So my view is, then at least a substantial amount of that should be passed down to the homeowner in terms of a discounted rate. We're not seeing that. We're seeing 5%, 10% discounts. And so one of my big pushes with our recommendations and with legislature is to make a requirement that the insurance companies do pass those savings down to the homeowners.
Gotcha. Like on a home-by-home basis or neighborhood basis?
Home-by-home, neighborhood, any way they want to do it. I mean, the door's open for that.
Yeah.
And really, we're one of the reasons I can argue so hard for this, I think, is because we're almost a model county, that we have put the millions and billions of dollars, actually, we've put in now in the home hardening around sort of the big swaths that we've done of clearing we've done, plus the Firewise work. And we have more Firewise communities in this county than in the rest of the country. So we know that neighborhood work is getting done. And then all the home hardening, including the subsidies that we put out for folks and the small grants we've given to Firewise communities, we can say with full credibility that we are doing everything possible in our power to reduce the risk.
Yeah.
Therefore, really, we need, and we're not seeing the kind of discounts that we should.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your advocacy and passion around this. It's very much appreciated by everybody, including homeowners like me especially. And if anybody wants to talk to you about this or engage you in a dialogue, or they have any feedback for you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can always find me. You can go online at the website for the county, or you can email me at heidi.hall@nevadacountyca.gov. I'm also looking for people's insurance stories. You can write District 1 at nevadacountyca.gov. Tell me your story. Were your rates raised? Were you dropped? How is the FAIR plan working for you? We're gathering these stories to take them with us when we talk to people and advocate. So would love to hear from my constituents and anyone else in the county who wants to talk about this.
Great, so not just people in District 1, but
Correct.
Anybody in the county.
Yeah.
Okay, well my fire insurance doubled last year. So
there's a story.
There
I'm
you go.
very sorry
Yep.
to hear that.
It happened. But it's not, I've heard people are like tripling and quadrupling, so we're not there.
Yeah.
So we're very grateful. So just get personal here, changing gears.
Okay.
What is something in your career that you're especially proud of? Sorry to put you on the spot, but just one thing.
Well, I'll just take this one. It's the
Okay.
easiest one. I'm
Sounds
proud
great.
that, I knew nothing about insurance when I started this, and I kind of resisted it for a while. I said, there've got to be people out there who know this stuff and can do the work, and they should be advocating, and I wasn't happy with what I was seeing, so I decided I needed to learn it myself. So
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I tend to do. I can dig in and do the research and then get the advocacy going.
That's so cool. Thank you. Thanks for taking on that work. So if you like more information about Supervisor Hall and the Board of Supervisors' work in Nevada County, as Supervisor Hall stated, you can visit nevadacountyca.gov. I think I got that website correct, or email her. And if you have any feedback on this piece, please email me directly. You can get me at ncnpolitics@gmail.com. It has been my privilege to be with you today, and remember, when it comes to politics, if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. Thank you so much, Supervisor Hall, for being here, and thanks for staying informed, Nevada County. I'll see you soon with another special guest.